So, there was a report that came out earlier today that said that Damian Lillard was going to request a trade in the coming days. Now, Dame later did an interview saying that he had not requested a trade, but that he hadn't made a firm decision on where his future will be. So, he hasn't officially requested a trade, but it seems that there is definitely potential that his future could be somewhere other than Portland. So in this video, I'm just going to be speculating about, a few potential landing spots for him, like what teams could trade for him. I think there's probably 4, 5, maybe 6 teams that could realistically get him, because you have to think, Dame, when you trade for him, you have to be ready to win now, but you also have to have stuff that the Blazers would want. And if I'm the Blazers and I'm trading Dame, to me, I think they'd be more well advised to get future picks and young players instead of a current superstar, because if you trade Dame, you may as well just go do a full rebuild, trade CJ McCollum too, and look to rebuild with whatever you get back in the trade. Because to me, there's no point for trading Dame for another player who's like 30, who is just not gonna take you anywhere. I think if they trade Dame, they're gonna go into a big rebuild. So let's talk about some trade packages. The first team I had is the New Orleans Pelicans. This would obviously be very aggressive to try and pair Dame with Zion, and the centerpiece of the trade would be Brandon Ingram, who's not super young, but is still quite a few years younger than Dame, and someone I think you can build around. And then obviously there would also be young players involved, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Jackson Hayes or Kira Lewis. I don't want to say like exactly what the trade would be, because it depends on the Blazers and the Pelicans' value of those guys. And then obviously also some future picks, which the Pelicans have plenty of between their own and the Bucks picks from the Jrue Holiday trade and the Lakers picks from the Anthony Davis trade. So I think the Pelicans are an interesting option. As I mentioned, just accelerating the timetable around Zion, trying to convince him to stay and looking to win now. And that would just be an incredible pairing offensively. Dame and Zion would give them a lot. Obviously, after that, they need to fill the roster out with defensive players who can help those guys. But I think it would be super interesting if the Pelicans were to trade for Dame, and it would be super entertaining, that's for sure, with Dame and Zion. Yeah. Okay. Next team I down is the Philadelphia 76ers. And the package would probably be Simmons plus Maxey plus Thibault plus picks. Another thing that could happen here is it could be a three-team deal where Simmons goes to a third team and the third team sends some assets to the Portland Trailblazers. Like, for example, Ben Simmons goes to the Pacers, and then the Blazers get Brogdon and 2 more first-round picks from the Pacers. Like, that could happen, for example. And then obviously the goal here for the Sixers is pairing Dame with Embiid. If this trade is available, if I'm the Sixers, I'm definitely doing this, because I think Dame just gives them another level offensively, someone who can be a crunch time scorer. And also just imagine the Dame and Embiid pick and roll. I mean, that would be deadly. 2 guys you have to worry about so much. I think that would just terrorize teams. And the Sixers, they could really use Dame's shooting and his on-ball creation, also his playmaking too. They do get worse defensively if they do this move, but I think just how big the jump would be offensively. I think this is also a trade that could really put the Sixers in championship contention with Dame and Embiid. Like, if Dame goes to the Pelicans, they're definitely a playoff team, but they're probably not championship contenders. But the Sixers, I think, might have the best chance of giving the Blazers enough assets and still being able to be a championship contender right away. And then for the Blazers, as I mentioned, you could keep Simmons and try and build around him. I mean, Simmons and McCollum, that's probably a borderline playoff team. Maybe not even that, or you could trade Ben Simmons to a third team, like I mentioned, and then you get Maxey, Thibault, and picks, who I'm not saying Maxey or Thibault is going to be a star, but they're definitely worth something. So I would say that's probably the most realistic trade to the Sixers, and I think that would definitely be a win-win for both teams. Or I don't know if the Blazers can win any deal where they're giving up Damian Lillard, but I think that's a pretty decent return if Dame wants out. Okay, the next few teams are probably a bit further far-fetched, but this would be, I think, the funnest scenario, and that's Dame to the Warriors for Wiggins, Wiseman, plus picks. And the Warriors do have quite a few picks between pick 7 and pick 14 in this draft, and then I think they have quite a few future picks, so you could do like 4 or 5 picks here. And, this scenario would just be so fun to watch, like having Dame and Curry on the same team. Like we saw in the All-Star game, it would almost be unfair. And, just the shooting with those two and still having Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, you just need to find a fifth starter, and that lineup would be super, super fun offensively. Defensively, they might not be as great, but if you get a good defensive big, you have Draymond still, and you have Klay, who I hope is looking close to his former self when he comes back. I mean, yeah, this team would just be super, super fun to watch. And, this would be my dream scenario just to watch as a neutral fan, because I think it would be incredible. But they'd also give up a lot of points, so I don't think it'd be overpowered like the Warriors, like we've seen the Warriors have recently. And then for the Blazers, I mean, this isn't a great return in terms of current young stars. I mean, it depends on your evaluation of Wiseman, and then you also get Wiggins, who maybe you can move for something. I don't really know. I don't have a trade off the top of my head, but I mean, I think the value is probably in the future picks, and you get them right away with pick 7 and pick 14. You can get a really good player there, and then you're probably also trading CJ McCollum, and you can start the rebuild around Wiseman and pick 7. Okay, the next team is the Celtics. I think this one might be a little bit less realistic on both ends, but the deal would probably be Jaylen Brown plus some young players, whether it's Robert Williams or Peyton Pritchard or Romeo Langford, whoever it doesn't really matter, and then future picks. For the Celtics, you're looking to win now more. Dame and Tatum seems like a fun pairing. You'd probably want to keep Robert Williams for the rim protection and the defense. But yeah, it certainly makes them a better team. And, would it take them past the Brooklyn Nets if they trade for Dame? Probably not. And then for the Blazers, obviously Jaylen Brown's a really, really good young player, but he's not like super, super young. Like, he is on a second contract, and, I don't know. For some reason, getting Jaylen Brown for the Blazers doesn't really excite me too much. And then I think the Celtics would probably want to keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together. So this one might be a little bit less realistic on both ends. And then there's also the Knicks, who I feel have to be mentioned in almost any discussion of a star, mainly because they made a jump this year, and I don't know exactly what the trade. It would certainly be some of the Knicks young players. I mean, whether they want to give up R.J. Barrett or Emmanuel Quickley or Obi Toppin, it's hard to judge, but there is something there with those assets, and then future picks between their own and the Mavericks picks they have. So, I mean, for the Knicks, this would make sense, having Dame and Julius Randle in a Tom Thibodeau system where they're going to play hard and be good defensively. I think that would be really, really exciting. And for the Blazers, I mean, if you get plenty of assets, you probably just hope one turns out to be a future star. And, if they want picks, I think the Knicks have quite a few. And then the last team that I'll mention is the Raptors, because they do have the 4th pick, and they have traded for a star in Kawhi Leonard before. I think the move would probably be Fred VanVleet to the Blazers, and then the Blazers would probably send him out to a 3rd team, plus the 4th pick, plus future picks, and then maybe also OG Anunoby, if depending on how much the Blazers want him and how badly the Raptors want to keep him. But I think this is also intriguing. Raptors also have a good defensive infrastructure, so they could take Dame and he wouldn't hurt their defense too much. And then offensively, to have a go-to scorer like that could really fill a need for the Raptors. But I don't really know how great a package the Raptors can offer. Maybe the way this would happen is the Blazers would really like someone at the 4th overall pick slot. But anyways, I think that's about it. I guess I'll just say the Lakers and Clippers, I mean, they just simply don't have enough assets. I know all the Photoshop jerseys. And then also the Heat I haven't mentioned, which maybe I should. Yeah, they could. I mean, I think the only way they get it done is if they offer Bam. And I don't know if they'd be willing to do that because I just don't think Hero and Robinson and some picks, because they don't have too many picks to offer, gets it done. So yeah, that's about it. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Dame Lillard. I think he'll probably stay with the Blazers, but he could also definitely get traded. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Leave a like, subscribe to this channel for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys next time.